Is it Shiva or Lord Shiva? In 2022, I was sitting in my garage, and the next thing I knew, this blue being appeared before me. Legs were crossed, he was floating over the ground, and he had 4 arms, long black hair, a bunch of necklaces on, and a cobra on his shoulder. And he started moving his hands so fast that they were becoming blurry, and I knew he was performing some kind of healing on me. And when I looked at the cobra, I was shown that I was basically, this blue being that I was looking at was my higher self. And so he eventually disappeared, and I was just like, okay, that was strange. I was just visited by a blue being and shown that that's my higher self. And to be honest, I didn't even really think too much of it because I had no clue who this individual was. And so I didn't even write down the date. I don't even know when this occurred. I just know it was somewhere roughly in 2022. Some time went by, and then I Googled, blue being with 4 arms, and I come across this individual named Shiva, or Lord Shiva, sometimes referred to through Hindu texts, right? And then I realized, I was like, okay, though that was the blue being that I seen in these texts, right? And so I'm like, okay, I guess Shiva's my higher self. And it's been 3 years, and it's really taken me this amount of time to fully grasp what that actually means. The more I started looking into who Shiva was, the being that's worshipped by millions around the world, the Hindu religion, and by many people is considered to be, held in the highest regards. And so when I found out, all this information, and I started working with Akashic Records readers and finding out, exactly where my book is, what spot. And I sat with this information for quite some time trying to integrate it. And I kept thinking to myself, I was talking to Shiva, and I'm like, Shiva, is there really nothing above, our consciousness, I guess you could say? Or there's really no beings, that are older than us? And I kept saying this day in, day out. And one day I sat down and I just blinked, and the next thing I knew, I was in the astral realm. I was, in black space with stars all around. And the next thing I knew, Lord Shiva's astral body lit up, and he was laying down almost on like a bed. And the next thing I knew, his whole body was glowing white. And the next thing I knew, this number 16 formed in his chest, glowing bright white. And it just kind of illuminated out to me. And it was like the number 16. And eventually this experience came to an end. And, the whole time I was kind of receiving downloads. And what I was shown is that Shiva is actually 16 years old in God years. Now, what does that mean? That means there are other beings that are older than Shiva. But what I was shown is that, the cosmos and everything, it's just so vast, right? So Shiva's born. He was basically the creator of, a certain corner, you could say, of the cosmos. It's very hard to put into words, but basically, a massive amount of blank space Shiva was given to create. And so Shiva created other beings. And, this reality that we find ourselves in right now, this was not necessarily created by Shiva. Shiva may have had a slight hand in it, but for the most part, he created creator beings that went off and created the majority of this. And, Lord Shiva has decided to incarnate to come check it out and basically see what the fate of this reality has in store. So when it comes to, is it Shiva or Lord Shiva? Shiva doesn't necessarily like the term Lord Shiva, even though I'm guilty of saying that myself in videos, because, when I first found out who he was, everyone was referring to him as Lord Shiva. And then I was shown by Shiva that, he doesn't necessarily like to be seen as God. He appreciates worship, but would much rather people give that love that they have for Shiva and make sure that they have it for themselves as well. So Shiva prefers Shiva over Lord Shiva. Over 60,000 followers. Just wanted to give a big shout out to all my supporters. Hit that like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.